Hey everybody, it's Rockula, and welcome back to Rockula Retrospective. It's day 9 of my VEDA series, 30 Bands in 30 Days. Today's artist is Dr. Zoltan Obelisk. Buckethead was the first artist on this list to pull me into a more obscure direction, and Zappa will be the last, but Dr. Zoltan is the latest to bring out the ideas that have been simmering in my brain. Ideas I had that were impossible to reproduce live without the aid of incredibly talented musicians can now be made reality by following his example. May 16th, 2010. That's the date that I downloaded the entire catalog of this new artist that I found while looking up information on Victim's family. I went to Dr. Zoltan Obelisk's homepage and saw that his entire catalog was available for download. It was 1.38 gigabytes of pure inspiration. It took me a long time to digest this much material, but eventually I became familiar with it. I began to notice patterns and repetitive ideas throughout his material. Many of his songs were variations of the same melody applied to various song structures and time signatures. Does that sound like anyone else to you? The first person I noticed doing that was Zappa. Carl was very prolific for a period of time and then decided to put music on hold. He has stated that he hated the idea of having to perform live and that he has battled with anxiety. You can go to his website and read his timeline. He is remarkably candid about the events that happened in his lifetime and freely admits his faults and shortcomings, as well as revealing the opportunities that he missed because of his severe anxiety issues. Before I knew any of this information, I immediately identified with this frenzied music because a lot of it sounded like the impossible stuff that had been running around in my head for decades. It was like finding Buckethead all over again. Carl King has released albums, books, and blogs detailing his observations on the ins and outs of not only the music business, but life and business in general. He started out in Florida under the moniker Sir Millard Mulch. He was accomplished at the guitar and bass and had been composing electronic music as well. Before I get into the discography, let me explain how I'm going to rate these albums. I'm going to rate these albums on how I listen to them on my Zune player. After I sifted through all of the material, I made a playlist of all of the acceptable tracks, and I usually listen to that on random. So how I will rate the album is the number of songs that made it to the Zune versus the number of songs that I discarded. His first release, Fanatical Video Game Retroverse, is a collection of material composed with the Atari 1040 STE from 1995 to 1999. He starts out with a pretty good rating of 30 out of 34. As a side note, I put this album on random in the panel discussion room that I ran at the last Retropalooza video game convention, and everybody loved it. 1999 saw the release of To Hell With All of You, I Just Want to Grow My Vegetables. This album gets a rating of 8 out of 18. The standout track is With Nina Gordon with David Bowie. Next comes 2001 and the release of the EP, The De-Evolution of Yasmin Bleeth. It receives a rating of 5 out of 8. The standout tracks are pretty much the first 5 tracks. Track 8 is the entire EP in reverse. Carl went through a lot of crap for the next couple of years and transitioned from Sir Millard Mulch to Dr. Zoltan Obelisk with the 3-disc set, How to Sell the Whole Fucking Universe to Everybody, Once and For All. This album rates a 24 out of 65. Apparently, this album was a catharsis after dealing with so much uncertainty and anxiety. Next comes Emily Dickinson Kindly Stops for Selective Serotonin Reuptake Inhibitors. This album rates a solid 6 out of 6. Nuff said. The last selection from the bulk download is Why I Am So Wise, Why I Am So Clever, and Why I Write Such Good Songs. This one also rates very high with 27 out of 29. You can't simplify a person like Carl King because he is such a complex and intelligent person. Carl has been kind enough to converse with me on Facebook a number of times. He's always been courteous and gracious, but at the same time, he can come across as blunt and sometimes lacking in empathy. Funny, That's the same thing that people say about me. As I have said, I see a lot of myself in this material and feel like it could have easily been me in this same position if I possessed the discipline and determination of Carl King. You should go to his homepage and buy everything that he has to sell. Well, except Midvale School for the Gifted. I didn't really care for that one. I'd like for you to share, like, and subscribe, but most of all, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Dr. Zoltan Obelisk in the comments below. Thanks for checking out Day 9 of my VEDA series, 30 Bands in 30 Days. Tomorrow's band is Ed Hall. I'm Rockula, and this is Rockula Retrospective.